The first time she looked him in the eye, her wrists were red with rope burns, her voice barely a whisper. "You're not like the others," she said. He wasn't sure what broke him more, her words, or the fact that a child had learned to expect cruelty. What neither of them knew was that one desperate choice in a dusty back alley would unravel everything he thought he knew about life, love, and the price of redemption. The rain hadn't stopped for hours. Sheets of it slammed against the windshield as Caleb Marks gripped the steering wheel of his beat-up truck. The headlights barely cut through the fog rolling down the empty Kentucky back road, and every bump in the road jolted his already sore back. He was late. Again. Shifting in his seat, he glanced down at the dashboard clock, 9:47 p.m. His stomach growled, not from hunger but from guilt. He'd missed dinner with Jack again, his 8-year-old son. Ever since his wife died, nights had become heavier, like the silence of the house settled in his bones. But tonight wasn't just about survival. It was about doing something right. Caleb pulled off the road, tires crunching gravel, and drove behind an old, rusted storage building that sat like a carcass forgotten by time. 2 men stood in the shadows. One of them flicked a cigarette to the ground as Caleb stepped out. "You Marks?" the taller one asked, barely looking up. "Yeah." Caleb's voice was flat. He tried not to look at the bundle behind them, a blanket, shivering, huddled low, money first. The shorter man had a switchblade tucked into his waistband, visible, just beneath his jacket. Caleb's jaw clenched. "You sure she's safe? You're saving her. Ain't that what you came for, cowboy?" Caleb swallowed hard. This wasn't legal, wasn't clean, but the law had failed her, and it had failed 100 others like her. He counted out a stack of 20s and handed them over. The taller man snorted. "You're crazier than you look." They stepped aside. The bundle stirred. A girl, thin, pale, hair matted to her face, eyes wide and empty. 14, maybe younger. She didn't flinch when Caleb stepped toward her. She just stared. "I'm Caleb," he said gently, removing his jacket and holding it out. "Let's go home." She didn't move. "Please," he added, softer now. The girl looked at the jacket, then at him, and nodded. As he drove back toward town with her in the passenger seat, drenched, silent, and barely breathing, Caleb didn't speak. He didn't know what to say, but the moment her small voice broke the silence, it carved itself into his soul. "My name's Lily." The clock on the wall ticked with a loud, deliberate rhythm, like it was mocking the silence that had filled the small living room of Caleb's trailer for nearly an hour. Rainwater dripped from the corners of his coat rack, where Lily's damp clothes now hung, washed, scrubbed, and faded pink. She sat on the far end of the couch, knees hugged to her chest, wearing one of Caleb's old T-shirts that nearly reached her ankles. Jack was upstairs, asleep. At least, Caleb hoped he was. He hadn't told his son anything. How could he? He poured 2 mugs of hot cocoa from the stove, the only thing he'd had the energy or ingredients to make. The soft steam curled through the air like ghosts, filling the tight space with the scent of sugar and warmth. He set 1 mug on the chipped coffee table in front of her, then sat on the opposite armchair, careful not to lean in too close. "Lily," he said, voice low, "you're safe here. I won't ask anything from you. Not now. Not ever. You don't owe me a single thing." Her eyes met his. Not entirely. Trusting, but not entirely afraid either. "I don't know how to be safe," she whispered. Her voice cracked like it hadn't been used in days, maybe longer. "I don't know what to do when someone doesn't want to hurt me." Caleb gripped his mug a little tighter. It wasn't rage that swelled in his chest. It was something worse, a helpless fury that couldn't be directed at anyone. Not now. Not yet. Not until he learned who'd done this, who'd let her slip between the cracks of a world that pretended to care. "You don't have to know," he said softly. "You just have to sit, breathe, and be." She stared at the cocoa. Then, reached out, hands trembling, and took a sip. The mug dwarfed her fingers. "Is this what normal tastes like?" she asked. A small smile twitched at the corner of Caleb's mouth. "It's cheap cocoa powder and half a spoon of sugar. But yeah, I guess that's what normal tastes like around here." Lily didn't laugh, but something shifted in her eyes. A flicker, maybe hope, maybe disbelief. He didn't ask what had happened, not tonight. Her body told enough of the story. Scrapes, a purple bruise blooming under her jaw, skin too pale, lips too cracked. Caleb stood, pulled the blanket from the back of the couch and gently handed it to her. She hesitated for a second, then wrapped herself in it, curling smaller, watching him. "You hungry?" he asked. She shook her head. "You tired?" A pause, then another nod. "You can take Jack's room tonight," Caleb said. "He won't mind." Lily blinked. "You have a son?" 8 years old, likes spaceships, thinks bedtime is a war crime. That made her smile, just barely. "I'll sleep here," Caleb added. "You won't be alone." As he walked past her to grab a pillow for the couch, he heard her whisper behind him, "Why'd you do it?" He stopped. "What do you mean?" She swallowed. "Why did you buy me?" He turned back around, and this time his voice carried something heavier, not anger, not pity, something rooted deeper. "Because I saw a girl with a soul still left in her eyes, and I've seen what happens when that soul disappears." The next morning wasn't magical. Lily didn't wake up singing or suddenly healed. She stayed quiet, alert, like a soldier stuck between battles. But she made her bed, folded the blanket, tiptoed past Jack's room like she didn't want to be caught existing, and Caleb noticed it all. Over time, she began helping, quietly. The dishes, the sweeping, folding Jack's laundry while he was at school. She never asked. She just did. "You don't have to do chores," Caleb told her one day. She looked at him with those steady, soft eyes. "I know." One morning Jack asked, "Is she staying?" Caleb knelt, met his son's gaze, and said, "Only if she wants to." Jack had grinned. "Cool, I'll show her how to make pancakes." That day, Lily laughed for the first time. A short, sudden laugh that sounded like sunlight breaking through a storm. And Caleb, who'd spent the last 2 years thinking his life was one long funeral march, felt something stirred deep in his chest. He didn't rescue her. She was rescuing him. Lily was quiet, but never vacant. She absorbed everything. The way Jack tilted his head when he was lying about brushing his teeth. The way Caleb's hands curled into fists when the mail came and he knew it was another final notice. The way the local grocer looked at her like she didn't belong. The world had trained her to read people like warning signs. It had been 6 weeks since that rainy night. Lily never asked about the men, never mentioned where she came from. But on Sunday mornings, when the breeze caught just right through the kitchen window and carried the scent of motor oil and fresh pancakes, she would sometimes hum, low, soft, the kind of sound that made Caleb stop mid-step, just to listen. One such morning, Caleb sat at the kitchen table, pen tapping against a stack of overdue bills. Jack was at a sleepover and Lily was staring out the window, hands wrapped around her cocoa mug like it anchored her. "You sing," Caleb said, not looking up. She flinched. He glanced at her. "Sorry, I didn't mean to." "No, it's okay," she murmured. "I used to, a long time ago." "Your parents?" A long silence followed. Then, "My mum, she'd sing while washing my hair. You are my sunshine. She always smelled like oranges and soap." Caleb smiled. "That sounds nice." "It was," she said, voice barely there, "until she died. Then my uncle took me in, said he'd keep me safe, said I'd be taken care of." Her fingers tensed around the mug. Caleb felt the blood drain from his face. "Was he? He sold me to the man in the alley 2 years ago, said I was too much trouble, too many bills." She said it like she was reading off a grocery list. like it was something she'd repeated so many times it lost its shape. Caleb stood, not because he was angry. He was, of course, boiling with it, but because if he didn't move, he was afraid he'd explode. "I'm going to make a call," he said, reaching for his phone. "The police need to know." "No." Her voice shot out like a whip. She stood wide-eyed, trembling. "No cops. Please." "Lily, this man, this monster, he can't be free to do this again." "You don't understand," she choked. "They knew. The cops. I tried once before, told a teacher." She made a call. Someone came, but they... She stopped, tears welling. "They called him my guardian. They said it was a misunderstanding. He beat me the night they left." Caleb's hands dropped to his sides. The system had failed her. Again. "You believe me?" she asked suddenly. "Most grown-ups don't." He crossed the room and knelt in front of her. "I believe every single word, Lily." And she collapsed into him. Not dramatically, not in a movie-like embrace. She just leaned in like a bridge giving way, slowly, quietly, her arms around his neck, his chin resting against her hair. "You're safe now," he whispered. "I promise you, with everything I have." Days passed, then weeks. Caleb began taking extra shifts at the auto shop. Jack became inseparable from Lily. He'd ask her to help with homework, play catch outside, even let her read him bedtime stories. One day, while Lily was at school, Caleb had finally enrolled her under a new name. He opened a drawer she'd left slightly cracked. Inside was a small leather-bound notebook. Nothing written on the cover, just her name, faintly inked in the corner. He hesitated, then opened it. Page 1. "Today I had cocoa that didn't come in a metal tin. I wore socks that matched." Caleb left a note on the fridge that said, "Have a great day. I've never had someone hope I had a good day before." He swallowed. Page 3. "Jack hugged me when I helped him tie his shoe. He said, 'You're kinda like my sister.' I think I forgot how to cry until today." By page 8, Caleb had to sit down. He couldn't read anymore. He hadn't just brought Lily home. She had brought light into a house that had gone dim the day his wife died. Later that night, Caleb pulled Lily aside. "I found your notebook." Her eyes widened, and for a second she looked like she might bolt. "I didn't read all of it," he said, "but I saw enough." She didn't speak. "You're a writer," he said gently. "You have a voice, Lily, and it's powerful." She stared at him. "Do you really think so?" He nodded. "I know so, and one day the world needs to hear it." The letter arrived without a return address. It came on a Tuesday, cold, brittle, grey. Caleb had just gotten home from the shop, grease still under his fingernails, when he saw the thin envelope wedged under the door. No stamps, no markings, just one word written in crude, blocky handwriting. "Mine." He opened it fast, heart pounding. "You think she's yours now? That little thief was never yours to keep. I want what's mine. You have 1 week to return her before I come take her myself." There was no signature, just a phone number. Caleb's stomach churned. The words didn't just threaten, they oozed entitlement, control. He crumpled the letter and tossed it into the sink, turned on the faucet, watched the ink blur, smear, fade. But the threat lingered. He paced the living room, mind racing. Call the police. No. Lily had been clear. No cops. The system hadn't protected her before. It wouldn't protect her now. Jack was at school. Lily was in the backyard, raking leaves with quiet diligence, her hair pulled into a messy ponytail, sleeves too long for her arms. Caleb stepped outside. "Lily," he said softly. She looked up. "What's wrong?" He hesitated. She walked up. To him, studying his face. Something happened. Caleb never lied to her, not once. He showed her the letter, watched her eyes flick over the words. Her hands trembled, but she didn't cry. She didn't run. Instead, she folded the letter, walked back into the house, and sat on the couch with her knees up. "He used to say that," she whispered, "that I was his, that no one could take me away because I owed him everything, food, clothes, even the air I breathed." Caleb sat beside her. "You don't owe that man a damn thing." Lily looked at him, eyes hollow. "He won't stop. He'll come here, hurt you, hurt Jack." Caleb clenched his fists. "Not if I find him first." But Lily grabbed his arm. "No! If you go after him, you become part of it. He wins." There was a fire in her voice now, quiet but powerful. "I don't want more violence. I want to beat him with peace, with my life." Caleb looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Not a rescued girl, not a victim, a survivor, a force. The next day, Lily didn't go to school. She asked to visit the courthouse instead. She stood in front of a clerk, gripping a freshly typed form. Caleb beside her. "I want to file for emancipation," she said. "And if I can't, I want Caleb Marks to be my legal guardian." The woman looked up, surprised. "You'll need to prove neglect, or worse." Lily didn't blink. "I kept the scars." She lifted her sleeve. The room fell silent. 3 weeks later, the judge signed the papers. Caleb Marks, mechanic, widower, father, became Lily's legal guardian. She sobbed in his arms the moment the gavel fell. And in that one moment, everything changed. But monsters don't crawl back under their beds just because you sign a document. On a Friday night, the monster returned. Caleb had just put Jack to bed. Lily was in her room, writing in her notebook. He was in the kitchen, washing dishes, when the lights flickered. Then, a bang! The back door flew open. A shadow stepped in, face hidden beneath a hood, a knife glinting at his side. "Where is she?" the man growled. Caleb stepped forward, slow, calm. "You need to leave. I warned you. She's not yours. You think some paper makes you a father?" "No," Caleb said. "Loving her does." The man lunged, but Caleb was ready. He wasn't a fighter, but he was a father. A broken mug became a weapon. A shove turned into a slam against the wall. Caleb pinned him down just long enough for Lily, eyes wide, phone in hand, to call 911. This time, the cops did come. This time. They listened. This time, she wasn't alone. They took the man away. Charges were pressed. A trial was scheduled, and Lily stood in that courtroom 3 months later and read a statement that made every single soul in the room go silent. "I used to think my voice didn't matter, that people like him were louder, bigger, stronger. But then someone gave me a home, a chance, a name that meant something, and now I speak. Not for revenge, but for every girl still stuck in the dark." That day, when they walked out of the courthouse, cameras snapped. Reporters reached, but Lily didn't hide. She turned to Caleb, eyes shining. "You know what I want to do?" she asked. "What?" "Start a foundation, help other girls like me," Caleb grinned. "That's ambitious," she smiled. "You taught me to dream." 3 years passed. Lily's hair grew longer. Her posture straightened. She still carried shadows behind her eyes, but now they shimmered with fire, not fear. What began as a half-formed idea around the kitchen table soon blossomed into something the town had never seen: the Brighter Way Foundation. A non-profit, run out of a converted garage and a dusty corner of the community center, built with the hands of those who once felt voiceless. Lily ran it herself, barely 17, wearing oversized hoodies, a chipped laptop under her arm, and a fire in her chest that no one could extinguish. She spoke at schools, visited shelters, met girls with scars just like hers, some visible, others not, and every time she told them, "You're not broken, you're breathing, that means you're winning." Caleb had never been prouder in his life. Jack, now 11, wore a Team Lily hoodie everywhere and introduced her as my big sister, the superhero. She always laughed and ruffled his hair. But at night, when the house was quiet, she'd sneak into Caleb's workshop and write. Not in her old notebook anymore. in a manuscript, a memoir, raw, gritty, honest, pages soaked with tears and courage. She titled it Burned Rope and Cocoa Mugs, How I Survived My Story. When a small independent publisher took interest, she almost fainted. "You sure people will want to read it?" she'd asked. Caleb replied, "The world needs to." Then, one fall afternoon, a call came. It was the mayor's office. A new community building was being constructed, a safe house, resource center, and education hub for at-risk girls. They wanted to name it after her. She laughed at first, thought it was a joke. But when she stood at the ribbon-cutting ceremony, surrounded by a crowd, holding signs that read, "Thank you, Lily," her throat closed up. She looked at the wall, at the name engraved in brass, the Lily Marks Center for Empowerment and Safety. Tears fell before she could stop them. She spoke without a speech. "When I was 14, I thought life was a hallway with no doors. Then a man who barely had enough for his own family opened his home to me. He didn't save me. He believed in me. And that was enough for me to start believing in myself. If you're out there feeling like the world has forgotten you, I promise it hasn't. You matter. You always mattered." That night back at home, Caleb grilled burgers in the backyard while Jack chased fireflies and Lily sat on the porch swing with her feet tucked under her. "I still have the letter," she said. Caleb turned. The one he sent. The one that said, "I was his." He walked over. "Why keep it?" She held it up, folded into a perfect square. "Because now I get to look at it and remember, he was wrong. I'm not his. I'm mine. And I always will be." Caleb nodded slowly, his eyes misting. "You changed my life, Lily." She looked up, smiling. "No, you changed mine. We just rescued each other at the same time." Lily Marks became one of the youngest published authors in her state. Her foundation expanded, partnering with organizations nationwide. She testified in front of Congress, helped pass new legislation protecting trafficking survivors, and eventually went on to study law. But she always returned home on the weekends. To Jack's baseball games, to Caleb's burnt bacon breakfast, to the porch swing and the rusted mailbox. And on her 18th birthday, she hosted a dinner in the backyard, just the three of them. Caleb handed her a small box. Inside was a key. She looked up confused. "I had the title transferred yesterday," Caleb said. "The house. It's yours now, every inch of it, even the leaky roof." She blinked back tears. "Why?" "Because you built this home more than I ever did." Lily stood, hugged him tight. "Thank you," she whispered, "for not saving me, for standing with me. And that's how a struggling father bought freedom for a girl the world tried to forget. And how that girl lit a fire that changed not just his life, but thousands more. She was never anyone's property again. She became a legacy."